To crunch that code's lesson number 4. Today we will be talking about loops. So you get the two main types of loops you get. You actually get three. Let's start with, you get the while loop. Okay, so let's just say there loops. You get the while loop. So usually use the while loop when you have a unknown number of iterations. So an iteration, okay, let's start with a loop is a control structure that allows you to code to execute a certain number of times, the same code over and over. So you don't have to go and type out the same line of code 200 times if you want something to happen continually, right? So loops are really used in almost every programming problem. It's really useful, and without loops, programming would be very difficult. So usually the while loop we use with an unknown number of iterations when we're not sure how many times the loop is going to execute, right? Then we get the for loop. So the for loop, and that we usually use when for a. Now how do you spell known? Oh boy. Well, you know what I mean. Known number of iterations, right? So iterations or number of times that it will execute, right? Oh, and then we get the do while. So I'm just going to put it there because it's a lot like the while. I will show you now what the difference between the while and the do while is. So let's start by showing a while. So you get the while, the Boolean expression inside the while. So while this expression is true, while this expression is true, the loop will execute, and then you get the loop body between the curly braces. So let's say while counter smaller or equals to 5, we need to create that counter variable because when it's an integer, a counter variable will always be an integer value. Okay, so you're going to work a lot with counter variables, and we need to give it an initial value because it needs to count from somewhere. So usually that would be 0. I don't know why I said 0.0. It's an integer value, so it must be 0. If it was a double, it should have been 0.0. But, okay, so then you get incrementing and decrementing. So while the counter is smaller and equals to 5. So right now it will be what we call an infinite loop. So it will keep on going because nothing is happening to increase the counter, so it will always be smaller and equals to 5, right? So inside the loop, we need to control the counter. We need to increment it. Okay, so there's three ways of incrementing it. So you can say counter equals counter plus 1. Okay, so that's the easiest one to see, right? And then there's a few other more complicated ways, but it's really not hard. So it's counter plus equals 1, and the other one is counter plus plus. So those are the three ways to increment while. So I'm just going to comment those out so that code will not be running. Let's use this one, which is the easiest to understand in the beginning. So counter equals counter plus 1. Okay, but now our loop is going to execute 5 times. Oh, wait, it's going to execute while it's 0, while it's 1, while it's 2, while it's 3, while it's 4, and while it's 5. So it will execute 5 times. But now, what is the loop actually doing? Right now, it's not doing anything. So let's say we want to print for some reason, some obscure reason, but just for, to simplify it, if you want to print the word hi 5 times for some strange reason. So let's just run that. Oop, I need to comment this out as well, otherwise it's going to interfere with our code. Let's just comment that out with our block comment, and then these are called line comments over here. So then if we run that, what happens? It prints hi 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For some reason, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it prints hi 6 times. So why is it printing hi 6 times? Because it's starting from 0, not from 1. So that's called a logical error. So it's not a syntax error where code blocks is like, no, you did something wrong. It's something that I, worked out incorrectly in my head. So let's change that to 1, and you will see now that it will execute 5 times, right? If we say smaller than 5, the counter will go up to 4, so it will only execute 4 times because it's smaller than. But let's leave it smaller or equals to. So that is a while loop, and it can get complicated. For now, it's quite simple. Yeah. So let's go on to the do while. So the do while is a lot like the while, except the while tests the condition before it executes, while the do while first does what it has to do in the do section, also in curly braces here, and then it tests. So basically, if we're using the same criteria, it will always execute one extra time. If you look at the while, it will execute once more. So let's use the same things. I'm just going to say we need to create a new counter variable. So let's just say int c equals 0 because it's a bit difficult. It's going to interfere if we use the same name. And then we say cout hi, the same way like we did there. And let's just use another counter way just for interest's sake. We say plus equals 1. And remember your semicolons, please, because it's very irritating when you have a bunch of errors. And then you say counter smaller or equals to 5 again. Let's use the same criteria, and here we will have to use a semicolon, where here we don't, but here it's only a line. The while doesn't have a body anymore, the do has a body. So the difference between these two is the while tests the expression before it executes, while the do while does what it has to do before the expression is tested. So it should execute one more time than that with the same criteria put in here. So it should execute 6 times. Okay, but let's say by here, so we don't know which one is which one, So, and then if we run that, we have 1. Okay, obviously we've done something wrong because it says high, 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 and then only 1 by where we should have 6. Okay, I see what I did. I used the other counter, so it must be c plus equals 1. Forget about that. Oh, and we need to change this to c2. I was getting confused now. So that's one of the things. You need to be careful not to mix your variables because then things go horribly wrong. So now it should run 6 times. So it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 highs and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buys. Right. So I apologize for that. So just make sure you have C here instead of counter again, because it's gonna be messy with that. So that's the do while. That's the difference. Please ask me in the comment section if there's any problem. So be careful for that. Then we get the for loop. For loop always has basically 3 criteria. It has the starting value, the expression, so it's smaller than or bigger than, and it has the incrementing or decrementing. So increments is make the counter more, decrements is make it less. We've incremented twice, let's try and decrement now. So in the for, you can make a variable there, let's just call it teller, and so that's the first part of the for loop, right? I don't know why I put that equal sign there, it's not supposed to be there, but you can declare the variable inside the for loops, right? And then a semicolon, and then teller smaller or equals to 5. Let's do that again, and another semicolon, and then teller. Let's use the other incrementing way, the one we haven't used, teller plus plus, right? And then the body of the loop. So that and then let's just say cout, and we just say teller, so it should print 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, correct? And now, because we're already incrementing over here in the loop, we don't have to increment in the loop's body itself like the while and the do while. So I personally prefer the for loop. It's the most useful loop to me. In most cases, you can wangle the for to fit into a problem that's actually meant for a while, or the other way around. So I like using my for. I can feel like I can manipulate it better. I feel like I can use it better. But that comes down to personal preference. You could basically use the loops as you feel like it. Sometimes you're going to make it a bit more difficult for yourself. So if we run that, it says 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it starts from 0. So teller is 0. Then it prints 0. Then for the next iteration, teller plus plus, so teller becomes 1, so it prints 1. Then teller is 2, it prints 2. Then teller is 3, so it prints 3. So that's the same thing here with a while. It starts with 1, okay? Then it increments. Sorry, I don't think I explained this in the beginning that well. So it starts with 1, then it becomes one more, and it increments every time this. Every time this statement over here is executed, it goes +1. So this is executed over and over and over again until counter is not smaller or equals to 5 anymore. Okay, so that's why it's a loop, because the same thing happens over and over and over again. So that's basically it from me for today, from the loops, the while, the do while, and the for. Please subscribe to Crunch That Code for more great videos. Have a great day. Please leave any comments in the comment section. See you again next time. Bye bye.